Good afternoon, everyone. In today's segment of Polity Made Easy, we'll be discussing about the topic Parliament. Beginning with the evolution of Parliament, the Indian parliamentary form is mainly derived from Britain's model, which is also known as the Westminster model of government. And then the idea gradually evolved through the colonial constitutional developments. First, the Regulating Act 1773. This laid the earliest foundation for the central lawmaking authority in India. Then Charter Acts, they gradually converted Governor General Council into a more formal legislative body, and this separated executive functions from purely legislative work. Then the Indian Council Acts, they introduced and expanded the Legislative Council and allowed limited Indian representation. Government of India Act 1919, this introduced bicameralism at the center for the first time, and this gave a clearer parliamentary shape to the future federal structure. And then the Government of India Act 1935, this was the strongest institutional base for the present parliamentary structure because it provided for provincial autonomy, legislative power distribution through the three lists, which is federal list, state list and the concurrent list, and then a mature federal legal framework. Let's see a quick distinction between parliamentary versus presidential form of government. In the parliamentary system, the executive is drawn from legislature, whereas in the presidential system, the executive is separate from legislature. The real executive includes Prime Minister and his Council of Ministers, and in presidential system, the president is the real executive. Here, the executive has fixed tenure, does not have fixed tenure because it depends on majority in the lower house, but there the tenure is fixed for the executive. And here collective responsibility to the lower house, but there no such thing exists as collective responsibility, and there is a strict separation of powers. Why did India choose parliamentary form of government? The Constituent Assembly preferred the parliamentary system because familiarity due to the British experience, then greater accountability of executive to the legislature, then it best suited the India's diversity and the future coalition possibilities. Flexibility, the executive can be removed without any violent constitutional breakdown, and it encourages daily responsibility through questions, debates, motions like no confidence, adjournment, censure motion, etc. The parliament is in the part 5 of the constitution from article 79 to 122, and some of the important articles are as mentioned: article 79, which is constitution of parliament; article 80, which is constitution of Rajya Sabha; 81, constitution of Lok Sabha; 83, duration of houses; 84, qualification for membership; 85, the session prorogation dissolution; 89, chairman, deputy chairman of Rajya Sabha; 93, speaker, deputy speaker of Lok Sabha; 100, the voting and quorum; 102, disqualification for the membership; 105, privileges of parliament; then 108, joint sitting; 109 and 110, money bill; 112 to 117, the budget and the financial procedures; and then last 122, the courts will not inquire into the proceedings of the parliament. So beginning with the organization of parliament. President. The president is not a member of the either house, and he does not sit in the meetings of the parliament. He is just an integral part of the parliament. Now, Article 59 of the Constitution explicitly states that president will not be a member of the parliament because it ensures impartiality of his office and he remains above the party politics. So, a bill introduced by any house cannot become a law without the assent of the president. Rajya Sabha, the Council of the States or the upper house, it acts as a revising chamber for the legislation. It represents states and duties of the Indian Union. Then Lok Sabha, the House of the People or the lower house, it represents people of the India as a whole, and they have the primary power in legislative and financial powers. Composition of the two houses. Maximum strength of Rajya Sabha is, can be 250, in which 238 representative of states, UTs, and 12 nominated. Current strength is 245, 225 represent states, 8 represent UTs, and 12 nominated by the president from the field of art, science, literature, social work. The fourth schedule of the constitution deals with allocation of seats to the Rajya Sabha, allocation of seats to Rajya Sabha to states and UTs, and then the representatives of the states are elected by elected members of state legislative assemblies through the means of single transferable vote. In Lok Sabha, the maximum strength is 550, 530 representatives of state plus 20 representative of UT. Current strength is 543, in which 524 from states and 19 from the UTs. The nomination of two Anglo-Indians was a provision present till 2020, and then it was abolished by the 104th Amendment of 2019. And members are directly elected by the people on the basis of universal adult franchise. The strength breakdown, as we discussed, maximum can be 550 in Lok Sabha, current is 543, and all 543 members are directly elected, states and UTs, and nominations are abolished of the Anglo-Indians. And in Rajya Sabha, 250 maximum strength, current strength 245, 233 are indirectly elected, plus 12 are nominated by the president. Demographic weight. In Lok Sabha, the highest representation is of Uttar Pradesh with 80 seats, lowest representation of Sikkim, Mizoram, Nagaland with 1 seat, and allocation principle is strictly population based on the territorial constituencies. While in the Rajya Sabha, again Uttar Pradesh has the highest representation, 31 seats, lowest is of Goa, Sikkim, Northeast states 1 seat with proportional representation via means of single transferable vote. The systems of election in the Lok Sabha. Members are directly elected on the basis of universal adult franchise from territorial constituencies in the state. So this principle of universal adult franchise, the voting age was reduced from 21 to 18 through the 61st Amendment 1988, and then the first past the post system is utilized for the elections. Then a delimitation commission readjusts the allocation of seats and territorial constituencies after every census, and the seats are constitutionally reserved for scheduled caste and scheduled tribe based on their population ratios. Duration of the houses. The normal term of the Lok Sabha is 5 years from the day of its first sitting, but then the president can dissolve the Lok Sabha anytime, even before the completion of its term. Whereas Rajya Sabha is a continuing chamber and it is not subject to dissolution like the Lok Sabha, and 1/3 of its members retire every second year. Their seats are filled up by fresh elections, giving each member a term of 6 years. Qualifications for the membership in the Lok Sabha: must be a citizen of India, must make and subscribe to oath as per Article 99. The members of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha take oath before the president or any person appointed by president, and in India's case it is the pro tem speaker. Then must not be less than 30 years of age in case of Rajya Sabha and 25 years of age in case of Lok Sabha. The statutory qualification must possess any other qualification as prescribed by the Parliament under Representation of People Act 1951 and must be registered as an elector for parliamentary constituency. Then grounds for disqualification: must not hold any office of profit under union or state government except for those exempted by the Parliament, is of unsound mind, is an indischarged insolvent, is not a citizen of India and has voluntarily acquired citizenship of a foreign state, and then any other conditions as prescribed by the Parliament, for example, corruption, electoral offences, etc. Disqualification on the ground of defection, 10th schedule, which was added by the 52nd Amendment 1985, voluntarily giving up the membership of the political party on whose ticket that member got elected if he votes or abstain from voting in the House contrary to the direction of their political party, if he was an independent member and then joined any political party, and if a nominated member joined the political party after expiry of 6 months. In all these cases, the deciding authority is Speaker in case of Lok Sabha and Chairman in case of Rajya Sabha. And in the Kyoto Holohan case of 1992, the Supreme Court declared that in both the cases, the decision of Speaker and Chairman will be subject to judicial review. Vacating of seats, resignation. A member can resign from their seat by writing to the Speaker or Chairman in case of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, and that seat will be declared vacant when the resignation is accepted. Then absence. A house can declare a seat vacant if its member is absent from all its meeting without permission for a period of 60 days. Double membership. A member cannot be a member of both the houses at the same time, and specific laws govern the vacancy of seats based on electoral scenarios. Then Article 105 provides for two types of parliamentary privileges, individual and collective privileges. Under the collective privileges, right to publish debates and proceedings, Right to exclude strangers, they can hold secret sittings. Power to regulate internal proceedings, power to punish for breach of privilege or contempt, right to receive immediate information of arrest detention of member, this is the right of presiding officer, which is speaker, and then right to institute inquiries and call witness documents. Then under the individual privileges, we have freedom of speech in parliament, but this is subject to some constitutional and procedural limits. Freedom from court proceeding for anything said or voted in parliament. Freedom for arrest in civil cases, and this is allowable during the session of the house and some period before and after it. Exemption from jury service, attendance as witness. A member cannot be compelled to be a witness during the session of the house. Presiding officers of the parliament. First, we have the Speaker of Lok Sabha. The Speaker of Lok Sabha is elected from amongst its members, and he is the final interpreter of the provisions of constitutions and the rules of procedure within the House. He is the final authority in deciding whether a bill is money bill. He does not vote in the first instance, but exercises a casting vote in case of tie, and he presides over the joint sitting of two houses of parliament. The Deputy Speaker of Lok Sabha is also elected from its member, and his primary duty is to perform the functions of the Speaker's office whenever the seat is vacant or absent. And like the deputy speaker is not subordinate to the speaker, and he is directly responsible to the house, and he has a special privilege that he automatically becomes the chairman of a parliamentary committee whenever he is appointed as a member. The pro tem speaker, appointed directly by the president. The pro tem speaker is typically selected from the newly elected Lok Sabha. His primary mandate is to administer oath to all the newly elected members of parliament, and he acts as a crucial temporary constitutional bridge until the permanent speaker is officially elected. He presides over the crucial initial sittings of the house, and he ensures that the seamless election of the permanent speaker can take place. Then a panel of chairperson of Lok Sabha. Under the rules of the Lok Sabha, the speaker nominates a panel of not more than 10 chairpersons, who in the absence of speaker and deputy speaker presides over the house, and the key limitation is that they cannot preside over the function of house when the seat is vacant. If the seat is vacant, then the election have to be held immediately. The chairman and deputy chairman of Rajya Sabha. So the chairman is the vice president, the ex officio chairman of Rajya Sabha, and unlike speaker, he is not a member of the house, and also like the speaker, he exercises a casting vote, and he can only be removed from the office when he is removed from the post of vice president. Whereas the deputy chairman of Rajya Sabha is elected by the Rajya Sabha from amongst its member, and he is not subordinate to the chairman. He is also directly responsible to the house, and he can vote in the first instance when his own removal procedure is going on. Now, sessions of the parliament. First, summon. President summons each house, and the maximum gap between two sessions cannot be more than 6 months. Adjournment. This suspends the work of a sitting for a specified time. This could be hours, days, or week. And then there is also adjournment sine die. This suspends the work of a sitting for an indefinite period. And in both the cases, the speaker is the deciding authority. Prorogation, the president issues a notification that a sitting is terminated, not just the a session is terminated, not just the sitting. And then in dissolution, this ends the very life of the existing house, and this is only applicable to the Lok Sabha. Devices of the parliamentary proceeding. Question hour. Every hour of the first parliamentary sitting is usually slotted for question hour. Members ask question and the ministers usually answer them. This consider 3 types of question: start questions, which require oral answer, and supplementary questions can follow. Unstart question required written answers, and no supplementary questions take place. And then in the short notice question, these are asked with a notice of less than 10 days. Whereas the 0 hour, unlike the question hour, it is an innovation of the Indian parliamentary proceeding since 1962. It takes place immediately after the question hour, and it lasts until the agenda for the day is taken up. It is an informal device available to the members of parliament, and it raises issues of importance without prior notice. The different type of motions in parliament. First, substantive motion. It is a self-contained independent proposal which deals with matter of importance, for example impeachment of president and removal of chief election commissioner, etc. Substitute motion, as the name suggests, this is a motion which is moved in substitution of the original motion and proposes alternatives, and if accepted, this replaces the original motion. Subsidiary motion, it is a motion which by itself has no meaning and it cannot state the decision of the house unless it is referred with the original motion. And then the closure motion, this is moved by a member to put an end to a debate before the house, and if passed, the debate is put to end and the matter is taken up for voting. Now, difference between censure motion and no confidence motion. Censure motion must state the reasons for its adoption in the Lok Sabha, while in the no confidence motion, this can be introduced without stating the reasons for its adoption. Then this can be moved against any individual minister, a group of minister, or the entire council, but no confidence motion is moved against the entire council of ministers only. This is to specifically condemn the actions of the minister or any policy, and this is moved to ascertain the confidence of Lok Sabha in Council of Ministers. Under censure motion, it is not necessary that ministers must resign from their office, but in the no confidence motion, if it is passed, the Council of Ministers must resign. The legislative procedure in the Parliament. Stages of an ordinary bill. The first reading. Introduction of bill in the either house and its publication in the Gazette of India. Second reading, this is the most crucial stage. This involves general discussion, clause by clause discussion, and committee stage. Third reading, in this stage the debate is strictly confined to acceptance or rejection of the bill as a whole, and no amendments are allowed at this stage. And then assent, this is sent to the second house, and once passed, this must be sent to president for assent. The president can give his assent, withhold his assent, or return it. The three financial vaults of India. Consolidated fund enshrined in Article 266. This is the primary operational fund of India, and this aggregates all government revenue, loans raised and loans repayment, and this must be authorized by the Parliament before withdrawal. Then second, public account enshrined in Article 266 clause 2. This contains fund where the government strictly acts as a banker, for example, provident funds, judicial deposits, and for this executive order must be passed without a parliamentary vote. And then the contingency fund enshrined in Article 267, this remains at the disposal of President for unforeseen emergency expenditures, and this is handled by the Finance Secretary, requiring post facto approval. Money bill, Article 110. A bill is deemed to be a money bill if it exclusively deals with taxation, borrowing, and consolidated fund, and this is only introduced in the Lok Sabha on the prior recommendation of the President. And the Rajya Sabha in this sense has limited powers because it cannot amend it or reject it. The Rajya Sabha has to return it within 14 days with or without recommendations, and the Lok Sabha may or may not accept it. The decision of the Speaker whether a bill is money bill is final. The finance bill, type 1 and type 2. The type 1 includes the matter of money bill and along with matters of general provision, whereas in the second type, this includes the expenditure from consolidated fund but not matters of Article 110. Then this is it can only be introduced in the Lok Sabha with prior recommendation of President. This can be introduced in either house, but the special condition is that this also requires President's recommendation. However, once introduced, this will follow the procedure of an ordinary bill, and the Rajya Sabha can amend it or reject it, and this is treated as an ordinary bill in all respects. The joint sitting of the houses. It is an extraordinary constitutional machinery provided to resolve the deadlocks between two houses. The deadlocks can arise due to a house rejecting the bill, or disagreement over the amendment arise, or 6 months pass without any action. This is summoned by the President of India and presided over by the Speaker of the House, and this is applicable only to ordinary bills and financial bill, not to constitutional amendment bills and money bills. stages in the enactment of the budget. First presentation, the Union Finance Minister presents the budget to the Lok Sabha and with a budget speech. Then it involves the general discussion. Second scrutiny, the houses are adjourned for 3 to 4 weeks, and then the departmental standing committees rigorously scrutinize, examine the demand for grants. In the voting stage, the Lok Sabha votes on demand for grant ministry-wise, and the cut motions can be introduced during this stage to reduce the amount. And then the final bills, passage of the appropriation bill, which authorizes the withdrawal, and finance bills, which give effect to the tax proposals. Multifunctional role of parliament. First, legislative function. The parliament make laws on union list and state concurrent list matter, but in certain situation it can make laws on state list matters too. So it is a primary lawmaking body in India. Executive control. The executive is drawn from legislature and it remains responsible to the house. So it encourages daily responsibility through devices like questions, debates, motions, etc. And financial power, it controls the public purse. No tax can be imposed and expenditure can be incurred without permission of the parliament, and it scrutinizes the public expenditure, passes the budget, finance bill, appropriation bill, etc. Judicial authority, it is empowered to impeach the president under Article 61 and legally remove Supreme Court, High Court judges, the Chief Election Commissioner and CAG for proven misbehavior. Then electoral functions, the parliament participates in the election of president, vice president, the Lok Sabha elects its speaker, deputy speaker, and the Rajya Sabha elects its chairman, deputy chairman. And the constituent powers, the parliament is empowered to amend the parliament under Article 368, but it is subject to basic structure doctrine. So conclusively, we can say that the Indian Parliament is a unique synthesis of British parliamentary sovereignty and US judicial review, and this maintains continuous accountability, not just periodically through elections, but daily through questions, motions, debates, etc.
Very nice presentation. Now I have some certain questions. Now, my first question is, you have discussed this the parliamentary control over executives. So, what is the most important tool of parliamentary control over governments?
So that would be first of all adjournment motion, censure motion, and because these are only applicable to the Lok Sabha, and this maintains direct responsibility of the members and ministers to the parliament, because they have to be answerable for their actions.
Okay. Finally, Lohi,
So through the adjournment motion, the normal business of the house is disrupted to discuss any urgent matter of importance. So this requires supports of 50 members and it can only be introduced in the Lok Sabha. Then comes the censure motion. This delays or this puts an end to a debate, and so
okay, I want to add something. See, this adjournment motion will depend on the speaker, and speaker belongs to which party. Then how it is effective? Whenever the opposition is bringing this adjournment motions, and then the ruling party will say there may be some things which can go to against the ruling party, they will say the speaker not allow that. Now the things are open. Yes. हरियाणा स्टेट से लोकसभा राजस्थान
मुझे बस हरियाणा का एक फैक्ट याद है कि वहाँ से कोई भी स्केड्यूल ट्राइब का रिप्रेजेंटेशन नहीं है, एंड लोकसभा में 40 के अराउंड था, इतना अप्रॉक्स 40. First of all, as I explained, Article 109 explicitly states that it is mandatory to the Lok Sabha, when Lok Sabha passes the money bill, it is mandatory that it is sent to the Rajya Sabha. And if we leave the article behind, it is essential for the bicameralism spirit, and then it establishes the procedural check, and then we also get expert opinion. Then it is optional for the Lok Sabha to accept it or reject it, but then it is to maintain the spirit of bicameralism.
Yes.
2026 में जो इमिटेशन हुआ है उसका अपकमिंग सेंसस पे क्या सिग्निफिकेंस होगा?
अपकमिंग सेंसस पे डिलिमिटेशन एक बार सच The upcoming 2026 census is significant because for the first time it will include caste enumeration, and then it will be the first census after post 2026. So we know that under Article 82 and under Article 171, the President and the Governor constitute the Delimitation Commission body, and then the Parliament enact the Delimitation Commission Act, after which the Delimitation Commission readjusts the territorial constituencies. And now this caste census will influence the welfare reservation schemes, and then the population census will trigger the debate around the redistribution of Lok Sabha seats, which will influence the federal balance of north and south states. Because in 1971 the cap was fixed that 1971 census would be used so that it won't be unfair for the south states, because they had low population growth and they effectively implemented the population control measures. So now it can refuel the debate around the north-south federal balance.
Why is the joint sitting preceded by speaker or chairman?
It is also mentioned in Article 108 Clause 4 that it is a constitutional practice which gives procedural primacy to the directly elected house, which is the speaker. So in that case the speaker will preside, and in his absence the deputy speaker will preside over the joint sitting, and if both are unavailable then deputy chairman, and if all three of them are unavailable then the members of the house will decide themselves that who will preside over the joint sitting.